Flarrick's giving me the look that says he's recording that.
No.
I have learned.
I can't get the facial cues on this side. What's going on?
I'm just giving some eyebrows.
All right, is everybody ready to record?
Yeah.
Actually,
I'll wait for Flarrick.
this good weather is throwing me.
Flarrick's got to go take a nap.
Flarrick is stripping, probably not to the same level that Mac is currently stripped to. Which
I don't know.
hope,
You have to describe it in slow detail as I put some music on. Hang on.
It's already done.
which is I hope you are more stripped now than when we first started talking to you.
How amount of pants do you have on right now, Mac? The people need to know.
Let's record a podcast. Let's not worry about that.
Sounds good.
That's exactly what we're doing, Mac.
let's not worry about that. What I may or may not be doing.
Answer the question.
Whoa.
Wait, what? Doing?
Welcome.
To Grand Sumo Breakdown.
The unofficial sumo podcast.
For official sumo fans.
Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown.
Record.
This is Flarrick. This is Ryan.
This is Mac.
This is Jake, I guess. We're going in that order this time.
This is the one.
This is the one. We've got it.
Yep.
Good take, everyone.
And so, as you could tell right away, Mac's audio quality is a little off today. That is because he is calling in from the far-off land of Sioux City, Iowa. Mac, how is it in Sioux City?
It's Sioux City.
So awful?
That's all I'm going to say about that.
No, I was just there this week, and my sister lives there. I've been trying to get her out for years.
Mac, that is the meanest thing you could have said about a location, is that it is Sioux City. I was about to say...
This is my first time in Sioux City, and all I can say is, it's Sioux City.
Oh, so it's also your last time in Sioux City?
I don't know.
Okay.
Well, congratulations, if so.
It's
What prize did I win for this?
You don't have
you
to
get to
go back.
leave Sioux City. All right, that's enough crapping on Sioux City.
I would apologize to our fans from Sioux City, but I'm not going to.
I'm going to make sure my sister listens to this episode. So we are recording our Haru preview podcast, and we are doing this on Tuesday, 5 days prior to the Basho. The Basho is going to be starting on Sunday, March 8th. So we don't know if anybody has pulled out of the tournament at this point. Like we said before, Hatsu, sounds like everybody should be in, but then we got a surprise pullout in Koto Yuki, and we saw what he got. He got booted down to Juryo for that.
They usually wait until we release this episode.
Yes. How very mean of them. If you're listening to this podcast, you can now do so on Spotify if you so choose, as our podcast will now be on Spotify. So use it there too, I guess.
I don't listen to it afterwards. I just assume that I did a great job editing, and I leave it at that.
Typically, no. We're also going to take some time to plug a podcast that one of our friends and listeners to this podcast is doing, Semi-Sages of the Pages. Our friend Molly is one of the 4 hosts on that podcast. I listened to the first episode, and it's a group of 4 lovely young women that are talking about literature and all the things that go into like actually writing a book. I believe some of them are published. So if you have any interest in that field, we highly recommend Semi-Sages of the Pages. But before we go any further to actually talk about the Haru Basho, we have to, as always, go back to the previous Basho and get a recap from our guy in the field, B.
Hey guys, B here. So, what are we doing? I mean, like, really. Booking-wise, we should be long past the throw Ricochet at the wall and see what sticks phase. And I feel like rather than trigger pulling, the JSA front office is playing with time it doesn't have anymore. Like, don't get me wrong, Tokoshoryu's great. He's, fun. But is he really a star? A star worth a Yusho? I'm sorry, I thought we learned this lesson with Tamawashi. Just because someone hoists the cup doesn't mean they're going to be able to hoist a company on their back when Hakuho calls it quits. It started from the bottom, now we're here, was definitely a unique way to do it, but this feels like really reactive booking to me. They're running out of time to make new superstars, and rather than continuing the pushes of guys with potential like Mitaki Yumi or Taki Keisho or Asanoyama, they're still playing around with calling up the upper ranks. No offense, but Takayasu was only 30. Why is he getting shuffled? Are we doing a full brand reboot here? Are we going to show up to a 6-sided dojo next month? Maybe I'm being overly pessimistic, but there's only 5 basho left in the year, and the window for the Senpai Kohai Enho Hakuho playoff torch passing thing I fantasy booked a couple months ago is really closing in quick. But, hey, March is a new month, a new tourney, a new pay-per-view. Here's hoping for some consistency. See you for Hatsu.
Well, he's as wrong as ever, but his reports are getting better in quality. I will give him that.
Fair enough. But
He obviously didn't read the latest script of the anime Fleric and I have been reading. It's gold, B. Gold.
yeah, although I will agree with part of it. I'll thoroughly agree with one part of that recap. What are we doing here?
What are we doing here?
What are we doing?
I don't know why both of you are looking at me like I have the answer.
I thought you were the bus driver. This is your problem.
That's
to solve
correct.
Now.
We are here to discuss the Haru Basho.
Oh.
And
Wait, does that make me Dennis Hopper? Is this Speed?
are you on top of the... Are you...
This is totally Speed right now. I feel great. Which one of you is Keanu Reeves?
We can't.
Dibs.
Damn it. Fine. I'll be Sandra Bullock.
And I will
And
be the
Flair,
bus.
you'll be who? Yeah, the bus. I was gonna say, I'm sure there's at least a 4th character somewhere in Speed, but I couldn't name him. Flair's the bus that is always going 55 or faster.
And one last thing before we finally, I swear, talk about the Haru Basho. 3 of the 4 of the GSB crew, Mac, Jake, and Ryan, are going to be going up to Minneapolis, Minnesota this upcoming weekend on Saturday, March 7th to a sake and ramen bar called Moto E up there. They hold a fantasy sumo contest that we will be joining with them, and we're going to be just getting a tour of the facility, see how they make the sake, and we're going to try our best to record a little bonus episode there. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll let you know if a bonus episode isn't going to come because logistics didn't make it happen.
And yeah, who knows how audio quality is going to turn out in a bar. But, you know, if you're around, it's in the Lynn Lake area of Minneapolis. It's a pretty cool neighborhood. Come stop by. We are always happy to meet any fans willing to buy us around. But hopefully we'll see you there.
Also,
and Ryan, since Ryan doesn't drink, he'll be driving. So buy me the rounds. Give me Ryan's drink.
I will, in fact, be driving the bus. Also, you don't have to be in the area to pay us a visit. You could buy an expensive plane ticket, fly out, alter your plans, come see your favorite podcasting crew. We would welcome that as well. Okay, I promised it. It's finally happening. We are talking about the Haru Basho. That, like, if a Basho happens in the Osaka Prefecture Stadium, but nobody's around to see it, does the Basho actually happen?
I can't believe you actually went there with that kind of a joke.
Yeah, but
You stop driving the bus right now.
I refuse.
Yes, because there are cameras.
Fair point.
But if the YouTube channel is copyright struck,
Ooh, there you go.
does it really happen?
If there's no YouTube channel around to see it, does it really happen?
That might be an issue we may run into sooner rather than later.
We'll have to find out.
Yeah. So yes, due to fears of the coronavirus and spreading that to more people, as it has struck Japan pretty hard, I think, with the amount of people infected with it.
They're canceling schools for like a month.
Yeah, they're canceling schools. There are some sporting events that have been canceled. I know others are also being held without any spectators. So the JSA has taken its cue from, I believe, both the government and other sporting agencies and decided to hold this basho without any spectators allowed in.
And I mean, we got to give credit where it's due. A lot of the times we give some crap to the Sumo Association for not being proactive. You know, we definitely tease them all the time for their like on the dohyo first aid practices, things like that. But like here, credit where it's due. I'm glad that this step was taken before it was a massive scandal or anything like that.
Yeah, I will say we can give them a little bit of shit because they actually are still having the Basho tournament go on.
I mean, there are still like 500 or so people gathering, which are the wrestlers themselves, plus all the coaches
And the media.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, it is still a large gathering by some definitions, but it's better than it could have been.
So let's talk about some more of the details about what they are doing to help prevent the spread of the coronavirus. addition to just not allowing any spectators in. So as we said, only members of the JSA, the Japan Sumo Association, and the press will be allowed in. Sumo wrestlers will not be allowed to take any public transit. And each rikishi will have their temperature taken 3 times a day. If a rikishi is over 37.5 degrees Celsius or 99.5 degrees American, they are automatically Kyujo for the Basho.
Whoa.
I think you meant
Yikes.
Fahrenheit, but I prefer the way you said it.
The Chikara Mizu, or the power water that they typically drink before a match starts, they're just going to be going through the motions for that. No actual water will be in the ladle, and there will be no lip contact with the ladle.
I think that is one of the biggest or one of the most important little changes that they could have made to help here.
Absolutely.
I am so happy they're not actually doing the because that's like just one ladle in one bucket of the same water all day.
Yep.
And that's no good.
Yeah, that's one of those things that when I remember going to Japanese shrines, that kind of surprised me is they have like the little place where you have ladles and water where you can kind of like wash your hands and like take a little sip of the water. It's just some people kind of just put the mouth like all on the kind of little thing.
Yeah, I think if I recall, you were supposed to pour the water into your hands and drink from there.
Yeah,
like that's
I think
what
so.
that's what like the instructions would
Yeah.
say in pictures / American.
Yes.
But like
some people definitely didn't.
some people definitely
did
did
not follow that.
Yeah.
And then if there is a rikishi that is confirmed to have coronavirus, so if their temperature is high, they're Kyujo, but that doesn't mean they have coronavirus. If it is confirmed that that rikishi has coronavirus, the basho will be canceled. So I don't know if that means somebody's pulled out day 9, they come back day 14, find out, okay, he has coronavirus. Are we just done on day 14? Don't know what that looks like, but it sounds like if anybody is confirmed with a case of the coronavirus, they are just calling off the tournament, which is the right move.
For sure.
Yeah. And there are a lot of other details that you can see for steps they are taking to prevent the spread of this in an article over on the Tachiai blog called Basho Behind Closed Doors, The Gory Details. So we covered the main highlights, but there's more in there. So, Mac, I'm going to start with you. Do you think it is the right call for them to hold the basho with no spectators? Did it go too far? Did it go not too far enough?
While I appreciate that they are at least going to make an effort to try and keep the basho on track, I think this is a big mistake. It's kind of like where the only thing that jumps to mind is the sword of Damocles in this case, where it's like, okay, if you screw up just a little bit, if one person, now again, it's not just all the rikishi that are participating. You also have all the JSA people. You have all of the camera crews. They're still going out. They're still leaving and coming home and doing their thing. So you still have a massive gathering of people, like we said earlier. If anybody is infected with it and it happens to just cross over, that's it. It's over. The tournament's canceled. I think it's a big mistake. We should just have said, nope, no Haru, take a month off. Everybody should have had another month just to recover, relax, maybe heal a few injuries, and then have a kick-ass Natsu.
I do agree with you that if anybody does come out with a confirmed case of coronavirus from this, I think the JSA is going to be lambasted in the media for saying you should have just taken the whole thing off. Obviously, this was the incorrect thing to do. I think more likely it'll go through. There will be no harm, so no harm, no foul. But I do think if something comes up, it's just going to be another hit to kind of the Japan Sumo Association's reputation in the media.
Yeah, they're definitely taking a risk because the precedent, I think, right now from a lot of organizations is to outright cancel stuff. The big thing, obviously, I'm aware of is esports events. There's actual esports leagues in China and also in Korea that are just kind of taking a hiatus for a little bit while. So I think I kind of agree with you, Mac. I think the selfish part of me kind of really wants to see it, but like at the moment, they probably should have canceled it.
Yeah, I was going to say something else, but I got to chime in here. Esports seems like the single easiest thing you can do remotely.
Yeah, for sure. But it's not nearly as cool.
Like, can't we just go home to go back to nerds in their basement at home with headsets
Seriously.
on?
Half of the fun.
And what is wrong with that?
Exactly.
Oh, nothing.
Yeah, half of the fun of watching esports is watching these like people being propped up as like super athletes, and then they come out and they're just nerds.
They look like us.
That's what's great about it. I love that.
It's just an amazing thing to see. So no, they can't just do that remotely.
All right, so
Screw
what
you.
the heck was I actually going to say?
I think we're talking about Basho stuff.
Yeah, I think that the sumo culture, the sumo association, is uniquely disadvantaged by the way that it conducts itself. I think that it is a type of community that seems so bound by tradition that it's almost inevitable that they're going to be thoroughly affected by this. Like if one person were to exhibit signs of coronavirus, that means that they've had it. From what we know, that means they've
2
probably
weeks, I
had
believe.
it, so, give or take. Yeah. It's variable, but yeah, give or take a couple weeks that they could have possibly been spreading it to all the people they live in very close quarters with.
So I do think sumo is in a different spot than other sports, though, because it's a sport, but it's also like a religious ceremony as well. So that could be another part of why they decided to hold it. I am not opposed to them holding this tournament because I want to see sumo. Period. End of story.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's also not wrong for us to acknowledge the selfish side of ourselves that want to see the sport.
Yeah.
There's another little bit of me that's selfish for a completely different reason, and that's because when we assumed or when we were planning for the case that what do we do as a podcast, like what's our plan if the Basho gets canceled, we were planning a handful of bonus episodes that we wanted to have ready to go at any time. I worked pretty hard on them, and I think there's at least 2 of them that were like ready to go, and they were pretty good.
Yeah,
and
we just got to throw it away now.
Yep,
Straight in the garbage.
Can't even delay them. I mean, what's the point in waiting until April? They're just garbage. Yeah. So, I mean, you'll never ever
Implying
learn.
the rest of this podcast isn't garbage.
You will. Yeah. So what that means, though, is that our fans will never learn anything about the history of Mongolians in sumo up to Asashoryu. Like, how did Mongolians get started? It means they'll never learn about my favorite new spreadsheet that I call the Basho Simulator. There's no point in ever releasing him again. So in the garbage they go.
Yep, sucks for our fans.
Mm-hmm.
So how do we think that this will affect the Rikishi? We've heard a couple of quotes from the Yokozuna. Hakuho said that this is the first time I'll do sumo like this. Can't even imagine it. And Kakuryu, he said that he's not sure what mental state is good for doing sumo like this. All I can ask is for the TV viewer support. So do you think that this will have a significant effect on the Rikishi at all? Will it hit some Rikishi harder than it will hit others?
I definitely think so. Because just not having a cheering crowd behind you, there is some people who just feed off of that, and they're just going to, if they don't have that, it's just going to be kind of like at practice, and they're just going to not get that kind of extra bump that they need to just really perform.
Yeah. What do you think? One thing that I think could be a factor is the fact that there's so many eyes on you is probably one of the reasons that everyone is able to keep such a restrained and dignified persona about them, other than like Hokuto Fuji, of course, who is just totally into it all the time.
Yeah, that's why I love him.
I kind of hope that, like, because there feels like less eyes on you, less pressure, I kind of hope that there's like more emotion shown on the dohyo. I think that's a side effect that could pop up here.
I think it could affect some of the guys that we do notice ride that emotion a little bit. We saw a lot of emotion out of Shodai last time, definitely out of Tokushoryu. Hokuto Fuji, as you mentioned, we saw some emotion out of Endo. I think those are the kind of guys that it will affect more. I think Hakuho even could be affected by this. I think Kakuryu, I think Takakeisho, those guys are always stone-faced. Takayasu, you never see anything out of those guys. I think those guys are going to be steady pros, and this won't affect them at all. I think the guys that show a little bit more emotion, this could affect them quite a bit more than those other guys.
Yeah, if Hakuho's not having a good time, like, he has no reason to stick around, other than probably getting yelled out even more.
True.
So I could see probably Hakuho being affected by this the most. I wonder if he's...
More than...
Yeah, go ahead, Mac.
More than that, it's just going to feel hollow in a sense. You're just going through the motions on so many of, like the Chikara Mizu, you're going through so many, just putting up that show. It's just not going to feel the same. Like, it's a hollow basho.
Yeah, it's going to be so different. I actually just thought about this. It's probably going to be like early Jonukuchi matches, and where there's like no spectators at all, where you just kind of hear the... Yeah, it's that's going to be interesting how that goes. if I was like Hakuho, I would have like them to get Sukebitos to just kind of cheer out names and like just make noise.
Yeah, I think something that'll be an interesting thing to watch. I heard somebody on either Reddit or Twitter mention this, but is there any reason for Teretsuyoshi to do his big salt throw at the beginning of matches? I think that'll be very interesting to see if
yes,
he still,
because it's awesome.
I think it'll be very interesting to see if he still does that, because like the crowd rises and roars with that salt throw. What's the point of doing that?
I mean, I'll still be doing
there?
it from my couch.
That's fair, but is
assuming I find a way to watch this show.
Yes, that too.
All
You're
right,
trying to save on salt for that.
yeah, they're not going to be getting as much money from sponsors and stuff this Basho, and definitely not from the ticket revenue. So they're going to save on the cost of salt by telling Teretsuyoshi to not throw as much.
You're breaking the bank, Teretsuyoshi. Push back. Stop.
So this is an event that's not completely unprecedented, as we've had previous tournaments completely canceled in the past, and we've had some where they've had restricted viewing. But it hasn't happened very often. In fact, only 4 times that we've seen in the history of sumo wrestling, at least indoor sumo wrestling. So March 2011 obviously was the sumo match fixing scandal. They shut down that Basho and then resumed afterwards.
Yeah, I think that actually did go ahead, but they kind of just called it a technical demonstration of some sort. Technical examination tournament.
Was that March or the May one? I think I saw that like
look into
the
that.
May one was. Because
The
I'm pretty
March-
sure
the
the
March
March
one.
one did not happen whatsoever.
Oh, okay. Yes, you were entirely right.
Okay.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I did not understand that's how it went down.
And so then after March 2011, we have to go all the way to May 1946 when the Basho was canceled due to repairs required for the Kokugikan following World War II. And then June 1945, during World War II, there was a Basho that was held that was only 1 week long and only open to members of the military and invited guests. This Basho was held based on the belief that once a Bansuke is set, a Basho must be held to set the next Bansuke.
A principle that was held for less than a year before that 1946 cancellation.
Yes. Well, we don't know if the Bansuke was set before that 19.
Yeah, I guess I would love
1946
to.
one.
I would love to learn more about that situation, because, like, if the Bansuke is set and we have to have a Basho before we can do the next Bansuke, and that's the reason that we're doing this, why not just use the Bansuke for the tournament after the one that you canceled?
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, it's the same Bansuke.
You would think
I don't
so.
know. I'm curious about this. This is something that I haven't personally looked into at all. I'd love to learn more about it.
Well, we go to January 1932 to find some contradiction in that statement, where we have the Shunjuan incident. So this is an incident that I really hadn't heard of too much before looking this stuff up. So one day...
But it is fascinating.
Yeah. So one day after the January Bansuke release, January 6th of 1932, led by Sekiwake Tenryu Saburo, 32 Dewa no Umi Ichiman Rikshi, 20 Makuuchi, 11 Juryo, and 1 Makushita gathered at the Shunjuan restaurant, a Chinese restaurant. The intent of their gathering was to demand full-scale reforms from the Kyokai executives and to improve living conditions.
So, I'm sorry, you said 20 Makuuchi guys? That's like half the division?
Yes, exactly.
That is a solid percentage if you're trying to start a union.
Yes. So after that meeting at the Shunjuan restaurant, non-Dewa no Umi Ichiman Rikshi also joined the protest. I don't have an exact number of how many more joined in. The Kyokai quickly responded, but the response was deemed half-hearted and lacking in substance, and the negotiations collapsed. The Kyokai was forced to postpone the January tournament as the bulk of the remaining Makuuchi and Juryo divisions joined the protest. To show their serious intent, 30 Rikshi had performed their own haircutting ceremony and declared their withdrawal from the Kyokai. The Kyokai is the Japan Sumo Association, by the way, just in Japanese. So after this, the Kyokai, or Japan Sumo Association, announced the removal of 48 Rikshi, including Ozeki Onosato, and released a revised Bansuke for an 8-day tournament to be held in February. So as a result, the January Bansuke became a phantom Bansuke with no Basho that ever went along with it. So the January Bansuke that they had written up that became nothing. No basho was held with it. Had 40 Makuuchi Rikshi, 8 in the Sanyaku, and 32 Maegashira. And then if you look at that Bansuke on like Sumo Database, there are 12 Rikshi in the Makuuchi division that are marked as Intai or retired. The February Bansuke held half of that with only 20 Makuuchi Rikshi, 7 in the Sanyaku ranks, and 13 Maegashira.
So they didn't just like blast up the entire Juryo division into Makuuchi.
I looked at it. It took them about sometime in 1933, I believe, before they had like a full Makuuchi division again. All of that information I got from an article on sumofanmag.com by Joe Kuroda.
That is a website that I've happened across in some of our other like history research episodes, and I don't know where that website came from or where it went, but everything that's on there is wonderful and way more in depth than like Wikipedia or anything like that.
Yeah, definitely. So let us move on to talking about what we think will actually happen in this Basho. Fleric, how long have we been recording?
If only there was some way to actually... 24 minutes.
All right, not as long as I thought. So
Yeah, all right.
25 minutes to actually talk about previewing a Basho.
So the rest of us will take like 5 or 6 minutes, I think.
Yeah, based
Yeah,
on
there
our
you go.
based on our track record, of course.
Hakuho?
No.
Oh.
So we're going to talk about the Yokozuna, and I decided to switch things up. We always start with Hakuho. We have never once started the Yokozuna conversation with
And we're
Hakuryu.
not going to start now.
False. We are starting
Not
now.
today.
Okay, fine.
So what do we think we are going to get from Kakuryu this Basho? So I watched a Chris Gould video about some of the training reports he's been seeing. There hasn't been a whole lot of reports because obviously a lot of their training sessions are being held without spectators. They're not open to the public because of the coronavirus. But he has said in the past couple of weeks, Kakuryu has gone 50-0 against his competition in training. And it's not just against scrubs. That includes wins over Asanoyama and Daisho. He said that the left leg injury that has been bothering him and forced him to pull out of the Hatsu Basho is no longer bothering him anymore. In fact, in his training, he's been allowing his opponents to get the advantage sometimes so he could properly judge his reaction to not getting an advantageous Tachiai.
That sounds
Are
like
you sure
Kakuryu
you're
to me.
covering Kakuryu?
Hey, I'm just repeating what Chris Gould told me on YouTube.
I got to get a quick dig in. If he's allowing his opponents to get the advantage on the Tachiai so that he can judge reactions, that sounds like Kakuryu, because then he's just going to pull them down.
Well, yeah. I mean, that's half of Kakuryu Sumo anyways. But, Mac, hearing all of that and based on the recent history of Kakuryu to pull out of tournaments, what are your expectations for him in this upcoming Basho?
I would say that, again, are you sure you're talking about the same guy?
I'm pretty sure Yokozuna, Mongolian, not Hakuho.
Did you just mix up the title of the Hakuho and Kakuryu section?
I
maybe?
did
Are
not.
you sure it's not Haruma Fuji in another skin?
It could be. That I would pay money
Anyway,
to see.
Haru Fuji were drop matches.
Going into this, it's going to be the same as it always is with Kakuryu. I'm expecting Yokozuna level performance and expecting to be disappointed.
That's fair.
Succinct. I like it, and I agree with it. I think especially for Kakuryu, I struggle to believe until I see it. Until I see him string together wins on the first at least like 3 or 4 days, I'm still not going to believe it at all.
What about you, number one Kakuryu stan on the podcast, Fleric?
Oh, it's I have. Let me check my warehouse. Yep, I still have like 25,000 boxes of Kakuryu lunch boxes. So I think I need him to do well.
You need
I
him to
this.
win so that the demand for his memorabilia skyrockets.
Yes,
Is that the oldest inside joke of the podcast?
Probably.
it might be pretty dang close.
Probably
Yeah.
the
It has
oldest
to
one
be.
that's surviving at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, a back one. I guess to give context of one.
We don't need context. That'll take too long.
No, we're good.
I think everyone understands just fine.
So okay, fine. So I love the guy Kakuryu because a lot of people give him a hard time, and like I think he does fantastic in training all the time. I think he sometimes has, like you say, Jake alluded to, trouble actually translating that to the dohyo. So I don't know, 15-0. It sounds like he's actually very, I guess, healthy. That was kind of the big thing the last couple of Bashas when he dropped out. So I'm taking that as he's healthy, and he's taking this seriously as well. If he's actually taking the time to actually get in a disadvantageous position and see how he reacts from there. Because that seems like a very smart thing to go about with sumo. If you keep on winning at the tachi, that's not going to do well once you face like very high level Rikishi. So I have high hopes. Like if a healthy Kakuryu is probably going to be in the Yusho race. So at least a Yusho, Jin Yusho.
All right, let's go around the horn, starting with Mac, and just say yes or no. Will he finish the tournament?
Yes.
Yes.
I also say yes.
I don't think he will.
Jake, it was yes or no. It was a simple instruction. You had to go off and do your own thing.
Yeah, well, I said it because I wanted to, not because you told me.
So let's talk about his Yokozuna compatriot, Hakuho. Haven't heard anything about his training or about his health, how his back and ego are recovering after that loss to Endo in the previous tournament.
Sick burn.
As always, pre-Basho, Hakuho is kind of an enigma that we don't know a whole lot about. So don't really know what to say about him at this point, except I think he'll finish the tournament, but who knows?
Yeah,
and that's our analysis of Hakuho.
Yeah.
but
Yeah, well done. Okay, moving on.
I was looking through sumoforums.net on the preparation of the Yokozuna, and one thing by Da Peng is that he's talked about Hakuho and the virus. He says he seems terrified by the virus. They are invisible to his eyes, is what he said. He's right. You need an electron microscope to see him. So I just thought that was. I just think that's funny. Like they're invisible to your eyes.
He's not wrong.
He's not like a Rikishi where I can really see him. This virus might be coming.
How do I Yorikiri this virus? If I can't even see, it's Mawashi.
Yeah. But we talked about the virus, and as we know, Hakuho can always compete for the Yusho. I seriously think he's going to be most hampered by the lack of audience, and I think he's the one who needs to probably stick around the most since he knows he's on his way out. If it's just not going well for him, if he's not getting fired up, he seems like someone who gets fired up by the crowd a lot too. So I think there's a very good chance that he pulls out.
Yeah, I'm not getting a good feeling about Hakuho winning this Basho, so he's going to get a Zensho Yusho. But my official prediction is not mediocre Hakuho, which is like 12-3.
Ah, okay.
Which could be enough to win the Yusho nowadays, but
It might be.
I think Hakuho will finish, but I don't think he's going to be at Zensho level.
I'm with you, Ryan. I think that just based on history, we're probably getting at most one Yokozuna finishing the tournament, and if that, and I think that Hakuho's more likely. Just track record. I really hate this game that we play every single time that. If he's healthy, he'll compete, right?
Yeah.
So,
No.
Yeah, exactly. So, I would agree with Ryan. I think somewhere like, 11 to 13, 14 wins, maybe a Yusho, but God, it's just so hard to put faith in the Yokozuna these days.
Really, they just need to retire and make it easier on us. But then again, when we move on to the next rank, Ozeki, they're not really making it any easy. Actually, it's become extremely easy for us now. In the past year or so, it's not easy to talk about which Ozeki were going to compete and how well they're going to compete. But now we're down to sad, lonely Takakeisho, alone at the rank of Ozeki. And how do we think that he's going to do? Do we have any reason to expect less than 10 wins from Takakeisho in this Basho?
I don't think so.
The universe,
Absolutely not.
The universe is cruel and injuries happen all the time is the only reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like I said, I think he's one of the guys that will be least affected by the lack of a crowd because you never see any emotion on him, except I guess he did have like the tears streaming down his face when he knew he got the win for the Ozeki promotion. But beyond the tears, you couldn't see any emotion. So he was holding it back really well.
Yeah, he always just kind of looks like he's out of breath and not having a very good time.
Yeah, very bored by
just
this
like
whole
all
thing.
the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, when we first started hearing about Takakeisho when he was blasting up the Banzuke, it was him and his friend Onosho who are kind of talked about just very, very like motivated to actually do well in sumo. So, and I still get that from Takakeisho. He's Ozeki right now, and he's very happy, but I think he has his eyes set on Yokozuna. So I think he's still going to be just kind of have his mind set and actually still want to compete and do very well.
So the way you guys are talking, do you think Taka Keisho is the odds-on favorite to win this Basho?
No, Kakuryu's in it. What? Wait, what you talking about?
That's fair. So, as Taka Keisho is lonely, we don't expect him to be lonely for too much longer. And the obvious answer is Asanoyama as who will be the next to join him in the Ozeki rank. But there's going to be more. So beyond Asanoyama, who are 1 to 2 guys that you think could possibly join Taka Keisho at the Ozeki rank in the next year or two? Mac, why don't you start us off as the only person that I know prepared for this question?
Oh, indeed. How many pages of data would you like me to go through?
A quarter.
Okay, well, I'll shorten it to just a few lines. I think the first candidate in line for potential, and this will make you happy, Ryan, is Hokuto Fuji.
I can't disagree. Coming off an 11-win Basho at Maegashira 2, that could be enough to start an Ozeki run, but if he keeps that going, he could definitely make it up to Ozeki.
Well, and that was my thought behind it. He's definitely not afraid to pull out a Kinboshi against any of the Yokozuna. We know he's powerful. He's great off the Tachi-ai. He's got the record to prove it. I think, speaking track record-wise, I think Hokuto Fuji is another prospect for the Ozeki title.
You got another one in there, Mac?
I do indeed. This one took a little more convincing, and it was Abi. No, I'm kidding. The third runner-up for that one would be Yutaka Yama. And reasoning behind that, I looked at his style, I looked at his size, and that's kind of weird to say, but true. And he's got the right build for it. He's got the right record for it. I think he just needs to get it in his mind that he can do it and maybe follow in Hokuto Fuji's steps. He's about Hokuto Fuji's size. They kind of have a similar style. So I think if Yutaka Yama can just pull it together, he will be third runner-up.
I think for me, I was really hoping that I could take that hipster's pick of Yutaka Yama. But yeah, I think the other one that, despite me picking him to do poorly last time, I think Shodai has been on an incredible run.
Ooh,
and
garbage
you're trying to
Shodai.
get like the good grace in for Shodai right now, but it's just not going to work. He's right back where people's expectations are high, and that's his perfect time to just break everyone's
But his 13-2, we talked about it on the recap. His 13-2 was against higher competition than, for example, Tokushoryu's 14-1 in a lot of ways. God, honestly, like, this is probably the biggest swing of my opinion between two Bashos for like anyone.
Yeah.
But
Who are you? Jake, you don't normally do this.
Don't worry, he's going to start crashing very, very soon.
Or maybe I'm just building him up so all the karma will come back and bite me. But no, I think Shodai is another guy that's in the running. Mitaki Yumi is the guy I would have picked up until like the last two Bashos, but I mean, I don't know. He can certainly get his way back into that Sekiwaki range that he was for like 11 years or however long it was. But
Jeez.
I don't know. Shodai has shown, at least as much as Mitaki Yumi, the ability to string together a whole Basho. Mitaki Yumi, one of the criticisms we've had, despite somehow winning 2 Yushos, still has those consistency issues where he almost never breaks outside of the 7, 8, or 9 win range. So, I don't know. But yeah, Shodai, Mitaki Yumi, I guess, are my 2 answers beyond the ones that Max said.
Oh, so you actually are saying Mitaki Yumi.
Maybe someday, but like, I other than the guys that Mac picked, after those 2, I would say Shodai, and then Mitaki Yumi, I guess.
Okay. I am going to actually say Mitaki Yumi as after Asanoyama, obviously, because he's doing very well.
Yeah, we kind of just eliminated him as the obvious answer here.
Well, yeah, because he could secure his Ozeki promotion
like right
this
now.
Basho.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah, so I still think Mitaki Yumi has it in him. I think he's having a little bit of a slump. He's kind of coasting a lot of time. But as we talk about generational turnover, that's coming closer and closer. And he has 2 Yoshos under his belt. I think it's just going to be a matter of time until he jumps up there. So that's going to be my big take. After that, I don't know if I really see anyone standing out like hugely. And I think, honestly, that's like, what, 3 Ozeki? I think that's kind of a sustainable amount, if not 2. So I think I'm just going to stop on Mitaki Yumi.
What do you guys think about a healthy Takayasu? Could he regain his
Healthy
rank?
Takayasu?
Literally no other wrestler has as much merch in our sumo podcasting room as Takayasu.
Correct.
That's true.
So you know what I think.
No, I do.
What does it say on that wall?
Mac, you're fired. So I do think if Takayasu can get over his elbow injuries, he's only 30 years old. I think he could easily string together another 33 wins over 3 Basho.
Only
and
33.
Get back.
Only 30 years old.
Yeah, that's 90 in sumo years.
That's not a good combo. That is a bad combo.
I'm not saying he will, but I'm not going to eliminate that out of the equation. I think the only reason he is not still an Ozeki is because of Tamawashi and his Kotonage. So I think he easily has that ability, if he can regain his health, to get back to that Ozeki rank. I'd probably put him at like 2 or 3 on my list behind guys you already mentioned. I'm not. That Shodai one doesn't seem like a bad idea to me.
I sold you a little bit, didn't I?
Well, I'll be convinced after this Basho.
Oh, he's
when
getting like
at
3 wins
Sekiwaki.
max.
Yeah. So let's talk about.
I do want to add to the Takayasu thought of why I didn't pick him, and the big reason why is just I need to see proof that he actually gets past his injury. It was a really, really bad one, and he hasn't looked the same since. And as you know, people get older, injuries just kind of stick around longer and longer. And I just, till I see some kind of proof that he's back to his old form, I'm just kind of counting him out.
Yeah, like we're talking about him obviously more than we're talking about Tochinoshin, who is older and more injured.
Yeah, Tochinoshin dropping all the way down to Maegashira 9. So he's falling down the Bansuke at this point in time.
Right.
Yeah,
Of the former Ozeki, for sure, Takayasu.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but that's a very good point. Like, I think it was like 33 and like has like half a kneecap, maybe to his name. And that's when he became Ozeki.
Combined.
Yeah.
Amongst his entire family.
Tochinoshin, I guess he's only 32. I assume that he was a couple years older than that.
So I guess there is still some faith for that, but I just got to see some kind of progress from that injury first.
So Takayasu, he won a one-day tournament that all the Rikishi took part in. Do you take any stock in that as far as his future performance for this Basho?
Sure don't.
Wise move.
I stopped watching after Hakuho versus Enho.
Okay, let's talk about that match a little bit. Did everybody see the Hakuho versus Enho match that's on this podcast?
Yeah, everyone listening to this podcast,
Jake, did you see it?
Yes, I saw it.
All right. What did you guys think about that match?
I don't think Hakuho was going 100%. Going to go ahead and toss out that red hot take.
When he like stepped up and like he put his hand on his head, and Enho was just kind of like going, "Wah."
I had the
Dad.
faintest hint that maybe that wasn't the best Hakuho could do.
No, that wasn't his brand of sumo. Definitely not.
I will say it was entertaining, and I kind of got
For sure.
the result that kind of made me excited. That Enho was like, "Fuck, forget this."
Good save.
Yeah. Forget this. I'm just gonna win. So you have to kind of actually take me seriously. It's too bad we probably won't see another matchup until maybe next year if the bracket gets lucky again. But that was really cool. I enjoyed it. It was very entertaining.
Yeah, and I think even if Hakuho wasn't going 100%, every single preview episode recall that we have a joke at the beginning where we have a fan make pro wrestling references. We are a group okay with scripted combat when it is entertaining, if that is the case of what that Hakuho Enho match was.
I will say
If it was,
I think scripted is a harsh word. I think it was definitely he was a showman. Hakuho was being a showman.
He was
Oh, definitely a show.
Yeah.
I think he was giving Enho every opportunity to beat him.
exactly, and yes, maybe scripted's the wrong word, but like that Hakuho probably beats Enho when he's going 100%. But that's not necessarily what's the most entertaining or the most fun. And yeah, I don't know. I certainly had no I wasn't disappointed by it by any means. It was fun to watch no matter what.
Is there any way we can link this? Because I'm sure there's a lot of people who have.
Oh,
seen this.
yeah, we can toss it out on Twitter. Somebody remind me after this episode's over, because I surely won't.
Flerick, remind me to remind Ryan.
Okay, Ryan, remind me to remind Jake to remind you.
Done. Okay, so that's probably enough talk about an exhibition match that doesn't matter in any way, shape, or form.
So also that Takayasu win also doesn't necessarily matter.
I
in
do
any
want
shape or form.
to boomerang back to Takayasu. Let's just wrap up our conversation on him. What do we expect from Takayasu in this Basho, his first one out of the Sanyaku ranks in a few years?
I think he's had another month and a half to heal since last time, so I think he'll do better than the 6-9 he got as Sekiwake, but probably not substantially. I'm going to go ahead and say 8 or 9 wins.
I'm feeling the same. I think he's going to stick around maybe the Joy if he's lucky, and we just got to see how that elbow is healing on him to kind of know more than that.
I don't know.
I think I'm going to go with a 9-6 on that.
9-6.
I've kind of talked myself into a Takayasu Ozeki run, so I'm going 10-5.
Oh man,
Go.
got to start from Maegashira 1.
Did you see him win that one-day tournament?
No.
He beat Miyogiryu in the final.
What?
But yeah, I do think Takayasu's probably feeling a little bit better. I think he will make his way back up to the Sanyaku ranks, and I do think he has a chance at a legit Ozeki run. He's my new number 1 next Ozeki promotee.
Over Asanoyama?
Besides Asanoyama. So speaking of future Ozeki, Asanoyama, his current run is at he actually has 31 wins over the past 3 tournaments. So kind of close to Ozeki consideration going into this one, but one of those was at Maegashira 2, and another one was at Komosubi. They really like to see you at Sekiwake for most of your Ozeki run if possible. So for Asanoyama to get to the mythical 33 wins over 3 basho for the Ozeki promotion, he would need to get 12 wins this tournament, which he's achieved once when he won the Yusho last year in May. But I'm wondering, could 10 or 11 wins be enough for him since we currently only have 1 Ozeki? Do you think they're feeling pressure to maybe promote somebody that might not I'm not going to say doesn't deserve it, but maybe they would have had stricter criteria before they were just down to 1 Ozeki?
Deserves it a little bit less.
Yes.
I think it's probably going to depend on the quality. If at least 1 Yokozuna stays in it long enough to get beat by Asanoyama, I think that's a major factor here.
Mm-hmm. That will probably be a big thing. I think also the fact that if he gets another double-digit win, like it will be 4 bashos in a row.
4 in a row, double digits.
I think that will probably be worth something too.
So do you think just 10 wins could get him Ozeki promotion, or do you think he needs to eke that up to 11?
Will that be 10 would be 31?
10 would get him to 31 over 3.
Yeah, I don't think so. Unless he has just like beats every... Yeah, no, it's not going to work.
I can see 11 getting it. I don't think he necessarily needs to get to the 12, but I think 11, like you said, with a quality win in there.
Yeah, if he let's say he beats Kakuryu and Takakeisho, but only gets 10 wins because he got Henked 5 times or something like that. Something ridiculous. I don't think it's impossible.
What if he beats Tokushoryu, the reigning champion?
Oh, man, that's a good point.
That'll carry a lot of weight. There is a note that I picked up from that same Chris Sumo video where we got the Kakuryu updates. Apparently, the Sumo Chiefs have said they would prefer to promote him in front of an audience. I know what that means. I just don't like what that implies. And I seriously hope that just because there's not an audience for this tournament, if Asanoyama gets 12 wins, they're like, let's wait one more time.
Do you think that's strange? Do they do any of the announcing during the basho? Really?
No. It's after the fact, and they are bowing in front of a million microphones.
That's their promotion ceremony. But do they announce during the basho? I know they do with special prizes, last day if you win you get one.
Maybe they don't have an opportunity to have a big gathering with people to promote him for a ceremony after this tournament. Maybe there'll still be fears of the coronavirus, so they still don't want to have.
And they would cancel that event too, or something.
Yeah, that could be a possibility.
Okay, that's fair.
Yeah. Do they actually know that TV exists and people can probably watch us on TV?
I believe so.
All this stuff. I'm being a little critical. Yeah. I think I would say, but I would be very disappointed if someone's performance is up to snuff, and they don't actually get the promotion that they normally would because of the virus. But I could see that actually being maybe if it's 32 wins total, maybe that could be a kind of a little bit negative on holding off. Something to make them hold off on a promotion.
So we'll start with Mac, but what are your guys' predictions for Asanoyama in this tournament?
I'm predicting a Zensho Yusho.
No, you're not. Don't lie to us.
No, I'm not. You're right. I am predicting at least 11-4 out of him. I would say minimum. I think he's going to have a good showing with the rest of the Joy. I think he's at least going to give the Yokozuna a run for his money, particularly against Hakuho, who I personally don't think he's he hasn't shaken off that Endo fiasco. And I think his concerns with the coronavirus or something that he cannot physically manhandle, submit, or throw out of a ring is going to bother him. So I think his real competition is only going to be Kakuryu.
Yeah, I think from the training reports, Kakuryu beat Asanoyama 6-0 or something like that, right?
Yes.
So,
but
it doesn't seem like a good
but
matchup.
also,
sorry, go ahead, Mac.
Oh no! But also, if I remember my readings correctly, Teruno Fuji was training with Asanoyama, trying to get him to strengthen up his weak side. So I think the tutelage of a former Ozeki might pay off for him in this. At least that's my hope.
Yeah, and I know Asanoyama over the past couple of Basho, he's gone and faced off against Hakuho for a while. He's faced off against Kakuryu. Last Basho, he faced off against Kisei no Sato quite a bit, and he always has terrible records against them. But I think he's still coming out and proving that he has double-digit win material. So I don't take a whole lot of credence in the fact that he was 0-6 against Kakuryu. I think he's just using that as experience matches against Yokozuna so that he can learn from it and then use what he's learned in the dojo when it matters.
Two things that worried me a little bit, just as, you know, if we're considering how the last Basho went for Asanoyama, 10-5, awesome, obviously. But two of those 5 were to Abi and Tochinoshin, who both finished at 5-10. Those are the kind of losses, those are the kind of gimmies that you shouldn't be giving up if you are on an Ozeki run. Or, you know, obviously if you are an Ozeki or Yokozuna, that's the kind of caliber he's got to measure up to and not give away those ones that shouldn't be so tough against guys that are obviously having a bad tournament. So I do think there's still some room for growth. I guess at the end of the day, though, my prediction here is somewhere between like 9 and 11. I think he's going to get in that range. I think he's still better than almost everybody out there, but there's enough matches out there that I could totally see him losing by surprise here that I don't think it's quite time. I suppose I wouldn't be shocked, but I don't think it's quite time yet. I would expect him to stay around 9, 10, 11.
Yeah, that seems to be the hallmark of a kind of top Sanyaki Rikshi is consistency, able to have the experience about any kind of tachiai or wiliness that they throw at you, be able to kind of take them down. So I think my take is kind of reasonably similar to you, but I think I'm going to go higher simply because I think he's a favorite in most of the matchups. I think of Kakuryu, it's a bad matchup. I think Takekisho, it's going to be even matchup. Hakuho, I'm just not convinced he's going to stick around, but he's probably not favored in that one. And so I think at least 12 wins, 12-13, I think is probably his expected outcome for this, just because he's a favorite for most of the matchups.
All right, so based on what I'm hearing, Mac, borderline Ozeki, Asanoyama for Natsu. Fleric sounds like probably definitely Ozeki for Natsu. Jake probably leaning towards not quite yet. And
the pessimistic side of borderline. How about that?
Yeah, and I think I'm also in the camp of like 10 wins and not quite enough for an Ozeki promotion for Natsu. Let's talk about his Sekiwake counterpart, Shodai, just a little bit. Coming off a 13-2 record with a June Yusho, he rockets up to Sekiwake for the second time in his career. Do we think that Shodai will keep his current hot streak going? Fleric,
no.
our resident... Oh, Mac chimes in with a quick no. Any particular reason, Mac, besides it's Shodai?
No.
Fair enough. Fleric, as our resident Shodai expert and hater.
No.
As our resident Shodai...
next to Ozeki.
Bet on him to underperform. I would say yes. I think he's going to stay hot. I definitely can't say I expect 13-2 hot, but I'd put him on a similar level to Asanoyama. I think because those guys that he was beating when he got that 13-2 are mostly the same guys that he's going to face this time. I think that he's right in that 10-ish wins area.
You are crazy.
And that's fine if you think so. But
yeah.
like he showed such like excellent flashes of skill in his last tournament here against mostly the top guys, like I said, that I don't know. It's totally fickle of me, and I know it, and I acknowledge it, and that's fine. But like Shodai has definitely got that potential that he, that he was granted, or that everyone was acknowledging when he first rocketed up the Bansuke when he started. And I don't know. Like I said, very fickle, but I think I'm a believer, at least for this Basho.
Yeah. I think you do have a good point that he had a really good Basho and he had some really good results. The big thing that just is holding me back and making me think that you just don't know what the heck.
It's called recency bias.
Yes.
That's the technical term.
Yeah, it's just his consistency is just always let me down before, and I gotta go with like history of what I've seen from him. I just don't think it's going to go too well for him.
Yep, he does have very few Basho wins or losses in double digits. It's just not super common.
Looks
really,
like 4 times in his career he's had double-digit wins.
And that's all in like the last year, pretty much.
Wait, is this?
There was 1 10-5 back in 2017.
Yeah, in the last year, though, it's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6 times he has had double digits, either wins or losses. Mm-hmm. Only one Basho where he had a 7 and 8. So yeah, maybe he is just completely up or completely down these days.
Yeah. Did he have 2 Junior shows in the last 2 Bashos?
Yes, he sure did.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, I might be totally wrong. Never mind. I am the crazy one.
Nope. It's locked in. It's recorded, and you can't edit audio.
We're done.
Dang, that's impressive. Yeah, I don't know. My heart still says heck no, and my brain still tells me heck no. But now I'm a little bit more unsure after 2 Junior shows. I don't know.
He's definitely on fire. It's just a matter of like, how hot is that fire, or some other proper metaphor.
Let's move on to our Komusubi. We have Endo and Hokuto Fuji. I don't think we have a whole lot to say. We already talked a little bit about Hokuto Fuji. Endo, just a quick note on him. He did have elbow surgery to fix something between the Bashos, but he has recovered from that. He will be competing in the Basho. Does anybody have anything special they want to say about Endo or Hokuto Fuji? Both these guys have been in this range of the ranks for quite a while now.
I think Hokuto Fuji's finally going to break through the kryptonite and get his first Sanyaku Kachikoshi.
God, I hope so. All right, this sounds like that's all the Komusubi talk we're going to have on this one. Let's move on to the most popular guy from the Hatsu Basho. That is big, fat, blubbering Toku Shoryu. So why is he going to be our repeat champion?
Literally no one has more wins in this decade than Toku Shoryu. No one. And now that we're past that, I think he's going to completely crash.
And now that we're past that, let's get to the real thing.
Not only, Jake, do you think Toku Shoryu is going to completely crash, Toku Shoryu thinks Toku Shoryu is going to completely crash.
Attaboy.
From that same Chris Gould video, that 5-minute video was just filled with so much gold. Apparently, Toku Shoryu has said that his chances of impressing at Maegashira 2 are virtually 0. And that you should hang your hopes.
Give that man props. He knows his limits.
Yeah, he also said you should hang your hopes on fellow, I think it was like Kindai University member, something like that, Asanoyama, for doing well in this tournament.
I sure will.
Yes, indeed.
He seems like a really funny guy. Yeah. I like him.
He's a 33-year-old man who knows who he is and what he's about, and he's not about winning in the joy.
Yeah. How do you think he spent these last 2 months? Training hard so he can maybe have a repeat U-show, or just partying it up and having just a good time and just having everyone just give him a lot of praise?
So that could be something where the coronavirus scares have helped him a little bit, because yes, typically after your first U-show win, you're going to have all these parties and events that you're going to want to be at, media appearances. Not as much of that this time around because stuff is being shut down. So perhaps he has a little bit more. Yeah, but maybe he has a little bit more chance to get into shape ahead of the tournament. That being said, 5-10 tops, but
for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe we're not. No one here is debating that.
Yeah.
Wins against Kakuryu, Takakeshi.
Oh yeah, he's gonna beat Kakuryu and Hakuho and then lose to everybody else. But yeah, this is his career high rank at Maegashira 2, jumping all the way up from Maegashira 17, 15 rank jump. And it is his first time in the Joy or the top 16 ranks where you would expect to face all the top competition.
He is thoroughly effed.
Yes. Tokushoryu is prepared for
indeed.
it, which makes me like him all the more.
Makes me like him more, but also makes me even more confident he's not going to surprise us.
Yeah. Jake, can you do me a quick favor and click on Koto no Waka for the sumo database? We're going to talk about him in just a little bit, but before we get to Koto no Waka, is there anybody else in the Maegashira ranks anybody here wants to talk about?
Enho will probably be fun.
True. Well, is Enho another guy that might play off the crowd because he gets the biggest cheers from the crowd? Do you think those lack of cheers might affect his game a little bit?
I don't know about the cheers. He seems like a very intellectual, clever scallywag. You know, like he's always like playing the thinking game and like getting people thrown off with psychological tricks.
He's crafty.
That being said, we're just going to continue the tradition. I think he's hit his ceiling here. You know, I've been saying it for like probably a year. So you know what? Screw it. We're going to keep it going.
So naturally, he's going to get Kachikoshi.
He's going to get an 8-7 on the final day.
Yep. Yeah, I think he knows that the people love him, and people will be cheering like in his head. Like he's had enough cheers that he knows how good he is and how much we just absolutely adore him. So I think he's going to be unaffected by that, and probably I don't know. He's definitely hit his ceiling, and there's no way.
For sure. I mean, we might as well just say it every time.
Definitely.
Anybody else we want to talk about?
Do we have? I think we're good.
Mac, you got anybody you want to talk about before we move on?
No, I'm good. Let's move on.
All right. So we have a newcomer to the Makuuchi division making his debut is Koto no Waka at Maegashira 18 East. It needs to be said on this
Wait, hold on. An M18? How has it gone that low?
Because we only have 7 people in the Sanyaku ranks, which is the lowest it's been for quite a while. And this is the first time we have had an M18 on the Bonsuke since 1959. So it does not happen very often. And hopefully Asanoyama will get that Ozeki promotion and make sure we don't see it again for a very long time.
Yeah, you can check out our Bonsuke episodes for a little bit more background on some of the absurd records for how long it's been since certain things have happened that are happening right now.
Yeah, and if you think Ryan doesn't talk enough on the main episodes,
I don't think that.
The Bonsuke episodes are going to be your favorite thing. I highly recommend listening to them. Whole lot of Ryan. Speaking of a whole lot of Ryan, let's talk about Koto no Waka making his Makuuchi debut. He is 22 years old in the Sarogatake Beya. He has been around for 27 basho, so this will be his 28th basho, I believe. He has won a Yusho in the Jonokuchi division. He rocketed up to Makushita, bounced around between Makushita and Sandanme for a few years before getting to Juryo, where he never had a losing record in Juryo in 4 tournaments, and now is making his Makuuchi debut. So, sorry, Jake, it looked like you were about to say something.
Oh, I'm just trying to fake you out.
Well,
I think this was he's only 22, so he's been in sumo for 4 years here, but he's that's still starting very young. So he's kind of on a I'd say almost a Takakeisho prospect pace here. Seeing that he's taken 4.5 years to get to the top division, 22 years old. That is a very solid pace. That is definitely like top tier prospect level. And the fact that Juryo didn't give him any setbacks is very impressive.
Real quick, what are the odds that he continues the tradition of getting a 10-5 record in Kanto Show Fighting Spirit Prize as a newcomer to the Makuuchi division?
100%. I don't know.
I mean, it kind of seems like it.
Well, yeah, considering that the Megashira 17 rank last time accounted for 25 wins with
the
2 people.
best performance by a combined Megashira 17 rank in the history of sumo wrestling.
Megashira 18 can only be that much better, right?
It must be. All right, let's talk about Juryo ever so briefly. Taro no Fuji, he won the Yusho last time. He's all the way up at Juryo 3. So you expect if he gets a 9-6 or better, we're going to see the Kaiju back in the Makuuchi division for the Natsu Basho. And Hoshoryu, he got an 8-7 record, which was good enough for a 5-rank jump up to Juryo 9.
Heck yeah.
And so
That's a funky
Hoshoryu
Bansuke.
will be at his career high. Ichinojo still in Juryo. He did not have a good showing last time, so hopefully he's recovered from his injuries and will do better.
Tomokaze as well, almost certainly out for several more basho. But
Yep.
yeah, he's still technically in Juryo, but that is not for long.
Yep.
Still gets paid.
Still gets paid. Still has one leg.
Yes. So let's move on to some very unfortunate news. Biamba has passed away at the age of 35. If you don't know who Biamba is, you may have actually seen him in like a movie or TV show and not known it. He was a sumo wrestler that was in Grand Sumo. I believe he even won a lower division U show at one point. I don't remember why, but at some point he broke away from Grand Sumo and went into the world of amateur sumo, where he was a 4-time world champion. He has appeared in, I believe, like hundreds of different like
For
TV
sure,
shows,
triple digits.
commercials,
Oh, yeah,
movies.
definitely.
You've probably seen his face and would recognize him.
Most recently, it was maybe 2 years ago, he was in a very hilarious Geico commercial where he was the sumo wrestler who was figure skating.
Yeah.
Yep, he was the ice skating sumo wrestler.
That was Biamba.
One of my favorite shows, Impractical Jokers, they also do punishments in their show. Might be the inspiration for why I decided we should do punishments in this show.
Don't get them any credit.
But Biamba was featured in one of those punishments where one of the Jokers just had to go up against him in sumo matches and get tossed around like a rag doll for like an hour straight.
That was hilarious.
Yeah. So there's a lot more to Biamba than we initially thought, and he's probably a big enough figure in the world of sumo wrestling because he was a pretty big gateway for a lot of people to kind of get interest in sumo wrestling. He did tons of exhibition matches around the world showing off sumo.
Yeah, and he is the like outside of Grand Sumo, he's probably like the most famous wrestler
Easily.
Yeah, and he was also a couple of years ago we did an interview with Andrew Freund, the guy who is in charge of the U.S. Sumo Open and tons of other sumo related exhibition stuff, and he was Andrew Freund's #1 guy basically, along with Yama, another former Grand Sumo guy, but. There's definitely enough on Biamba here that I think that we're going to do a bonus episode in the near future. He's one of the guys that there's a ton of stories out there about him. There's a ton of like cameos that aren't necessarily recorded anywhere, like where he'll show up in a commercial or a movie or whatever. And I think for a bonus episode on Biamba, what I would really like would be if you have a Biamba story, if you ever met him or if you ever saw him on something funny, I would love it if you could leave us a voicemail or send us an email or anything like that. The more stories we get, the more we can cram into an awesome bonus episode retrospective on Biamba.
Mac, hit him with that voicemail number.
That's 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-SUMO.
Attaboy.
Ooh,
And with
so good.
With that, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with our predictions.
Welcome to the new investigative reporting segment of Grand Sumo Breakdown, where we talk directly to those on the front line of the issues that sumo fans need to know about. This is Under the Mawashi.
Thank you. This is Ryan of Grand Sumo Breakdown, and I'm here at the Ryogoku Institute for Sumo Safety to speak with Dr. Terry Cartilage, one of the foremost experts in the field of Rikishi health. Dr. Cartilage, thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you for coming out to speak with me. I am very happy. Yes.
Doctor, with the number of high-profile injuries recently, safety and health is a topic on the minds of many sumo fans these days.
Of course, yes.
So, as the third largest sumo research university in eastern Tokyo, what can you tell us about projects your institute is currently working on?
Yes, well, we've been studying the types of incidents that lead to serious injury in sumo. And one of the main things we found that we believe we can prevent are injuries where a particular brand of sumo leads to wrestlers falling from the raised dohyo.
Ah, yes, of course, like Wakataka Kage or Tomokaze last year.
Yes, exactly. So to mitigate this, we've been testing our new design we call the Holyo.
The Holyo?
Yes, it's a 20-foot deep pit to hold matches in. We figured it was the furthest thing from a raised platform, so it would be much safer.
Oh, okay. And did the results prove this theory?
At first, yes, but then it rained, and several Rikishi stuck in the pit were tragically drowned.
Oh, dear.
Yes. We did have greater success with the belly bumpers, however.
Belly bumpers, can you elaborate?
Yes, to prevent some of the injuries common to the tachiai of a sumo match, we've been experimenting with just duct taping the airbag from a full-ton pickup truck to the bellies of the wrestlers, and sometimes the gyojis.
Join us on our recap episode of the 2020 Haru Basho for the rest of our interview with Terry Cartilage on GSB Under the Mawashi.
We are back, and before we get into the predictions, Jake, why don't you give us a quick update on where the Grand Sumo Breakdown belt currently lies?
This is our lineal title that we started at the very, very first match of 2 bashos ago, and Ura is still the champion. He managed not to lose any sumo matches since the end of the last basho. Good for him.
Impressive.
Yep. Ura is now up to Sandanme 30 West. Which means that our belt is well on the way towards the top of the division. That's what, maybe 40% of the way up from the bottom, something like that, towards the upper
not
middle of
bad.
Sandanme.
Yeah, not bad at all.
No, that's
That
yeah.
belt is rocketing its way up.
Yes.
And being in Ura's hands, and especially if Ura is healthy, it's going to continue rocketing up the ranks.
Yeah, I'm actually enjoying it. I hope he sticks around with it just so I can kind of keep tabs on how he's doing. This is
the
working out
other
great.
The other fun part about having this GSB belt is if it passes through anybody else's hands, that's another name that we're going to hear about in the future. You know, like if it passes through the hands of somebody else, so if somebody manages to beat Ura and then also gets promoted or something like that, it's likely we'll probably hear that person's name again at some point. Or other former guys like Yutaka Nami had the belt at one point. Tosa Midori. These are other names of like maybe prospects. Who knows in the future? But either way, Ura is let's see, he's now defended his belt 9 times. So he's probably going to hold on to it for a bit.
Hope so.
Either way, we keep track of that and we'll get you an update at the recap.
So now we will get into our prediction series. If for some reason you missed our Hatsu episodes, we kind of switched up how we're doing predictions.
Also, shame on you, go back and listen to them.
Very much so, yes.
Indeed.
We have simplified it to now we simply choose a champ who we think is going to do the best, and we select a chump who we think will do poorly. And pretty much the scoring is just if you get wins, you get points. If you win the U-Show, you get some more points. If you win a prize, you get a few more points. Basically, if you do good, you do points. And then the opposite of that, if for your chump. If you lose, you get points. If you win, you lose points.
Very graceful explanation. Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you. I do
Yes, well done.
would like to propose a couple of changes to our scoring. For some reason, we did not include Kinboshi in our champ portion. I do believe that should be added for their scoring.
Yeah, counted as the same as like a special prize or something, maybe?
Yeah.
Isn't
And
that like 3 points?
Makes sense.
2 or 3 points. We'll figure it out.
Okay. 2 or 3,
Semantics.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out before the basho actually starts because that's when we would start arguing rather than discussing.
Yes.
Yes.
And one more proposal. I believe if your champ beats somebody else's champ, you should get a bonus point.
Single point?
Single point.
Okay, I dig it.
Single
I'm good with
point. I'm okay
What
with
if your
that.
chump loses to someone else's chump or champ?
If your chump loses to someone else's chump, bonus point for sure.
I think if your
yeah.
I think if your
Yes.
chump beats somebody's champ, you lose an additional point.
Yeah.
We could make this very complicated and back and forth.
Regardless, though,
But I like these matchup ideas.
Yeah.
We can figure out the.
I
We'll
like
figure
it
out
too.
the
The
semantics,
details
but we're
later.
going to add some more points in there. So what it comes down to is, Jake, select your champ for the Haru Basho.
because I did pitifully worst last time. I did worst by like a factor of like 5 or
lot.
6, I think.
Yeah.
But regardless, that puts me first here, and I think I want to pick somebody who's towards the top, who I have a lot of faith in, but also somebody that I trust to stick around and keep getting wins, and that's going to be Taka Keisho for me.
I wanted Taka Keisho.
All right, Flair,
Yeah.
you get second pick.
That's a pretty good one. I got to put my money with where my lunch boxes are. I'm going to go with Kakuryu.
Dang it, that's the one I actually wanted. I fully believe in Kakuryu this Basho. I didn't say anything in the other portion, so nobody would take him.
And it's gone.
It didn't work.
I had zero backup plan.
All right. Might as well
You
just
know
give
what?
up now.
No.
Might as well go Koto no Waka.
Future two-time Ozeki, Takayasu.
I am really excited to draw the punishment now because I know Ryan is the front runner.
Hard to lose, yeah.
Mac, who
I'm
you
going to
got?
let my pick ride. Asanoyama for the second time.
Oh, shoot. Asanoyama existed.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're a fool.
I was so flustered by Flarik taking Kakuryu.
Damn you and your tricks,
Nope.
Mac.
I like how all of us have learned not to take Hakuho.
Yep.
Yep. And I thought all of us had learned not to take Kakuyu.
Yeah.
But because we do a snake draft.
That was the fake out.
Yeah, because we do a snake draft, Mac, you get first pick at your chump.
And I gotta have to go for the low-hanging fruit. Tokushoryu.
But I wanted the low-hanging fruit. I'll go down to Maegashira 17, where I don't believe we're going to have a repeat performance. I'm going with Dayamami, coming up from Juryo last time.
Yeah, Dayamami, he got an 11-4 in Juryo, but that was in Juryo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Why did Meisei kind of go Kyujo last time?
Some sort of injury. I don't know if he's better or not.
Yeah, and by the way, if you pick somebody who goes Kyujo before the tournament starts,
You have to
we get a
switch.
repick.
Yep.
You have to start over.
Right.
All right. I feel like that will probably be kind of a risky but maybe good pick. But I gotta put, once again, my money where my faith does not exist at all.
Oh, dear.
Which
Don't
is
do
Kami
it.
Shodai as my chump.
I thought he was going to take
Flarik,
Hakuho for
why?
a second.
Oh,
Bank on Hakuho pulling out.
Wait a
Jake,
second.
are you going to bank on Hakuho
You're
pulling
damn
out?
right. No, I'm not. Because he's either the best or the worst single pick. And I am not going to do that.
Oh my god, I could have chosen Hakuho for my champ. What the hell was I doing?
What the hell were you doing?
You
God.
fool.
I thought we talked about
You
this. We learned from
fool.
last time that Hakuho is probably he's just like Jake said, either the worst or the best.
I'm so upset with myself right now. Looks like Jake's going with the Kaguriyaki.
That's my pick. I get to say, yeah, whatever. Yes, I'm going with Kageyaki. Kageyaki got a 10-win basho from Maegashira 11 and looked almost presentable for a moment. And this isn't his highest career rank ever, but it's certainly higher than he's ever done well.
Yep.
So I love to root against him anyways, just because of all the. I mean, if you listen to this podcast, you know we've been giving him a lot of crap recently for his style. But yeah, Kageyaki's who I got.
And as Jake learned on our Bonsuke recap episode, Kageyaki, in I believe 6 or 7 times that he's been ranked ahead of Maegashira 8 West, has never had a winning record.
And data is my one weakness.
So we also have our fans select a champ and a chump just to see how they do against us. And so the consensus champ of the fans was Takakeisho, and the consensus chump of the fans was Tokushoryu.
The first drafted champ and chump
Yeah.
among us
Yeah.
as well.
Yes. So
Yes.
we will also keep track of the fan score and see how they do. They won last time. They
Sure did.
They did better than all of us. So,
Almost combined.
Yes. So we'll
Yep.
see how they do, and we'll figure out some punishment for them if they happen to lose. So speaking of punishments, Jake has the Bowl O punishments in hand, and he will be selecting the punishment that the loser must perform should you lose.
So I am going to go ahead and my prediction here. Oh, God, I bet it's going to be Flarik.
Oh, for the winner?
No,
That's a great.
I think that I don't know. Flarik's I'm just looking at the outline, so I don't look at which ones I'm picking from the bowl of punishments because some of these look very different.
Notice how like your instincts would say Flarik is going to be the best.
I don't think
obvious
that's
pick.
where they were going. But with my blind draw from the bowl of punishments, I actually drew one of the new punishments that was just added to the bowl.
Ooh.
And
Uh-oh.
this one is the loser must read a written statement as prepared by the winner / non-losers.
All right.
Oh, no.
So I believe the / non-losers. What was the deal there?
That means
Is
if I don't win and I also don't lose, I get to help put mean things for
I
the
see.
other person to say.
we
that
can
was,
have input.
Oh, it's like a
that was a
collaboration.
loophole, so Ryan would have input no matter what.
Oh, I see. I see how Ryan does it.
I see what you did there.
So when I win, though, when I win and Flarik totally loses because he picked Shodai for his chump. Well, which is an all-time terrible decision, as we have determined from our one try at this so far. But so when I win and Fleric loses, if Mac and Ryan also didn't lose, they can give me input, but I'm still in charge of
However
what I
we
want
want to do it. It doesn't
Okay.
matter a whole lot.
I need this sorted out right now, though.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Let's iron out the details right now on the podcast.
Speaking, though, of punishments, Ryan.
Yes. So if you listen to the Jake and Ryan only Bonske episodes, we have a little weight losing contest that we are doing. And pretty much all you need to know, the first person to lose 5 pounds won, and the other person has to do a punishment. And so Jake reached the 5 pound mark before I did, so I am here to serve my punishment. Jake decided it would be best to bring Sumo Erotica back into the fold.
Oh my.
And so
I sure did.
so I have prepared.
And I am
And Mac is.
I'm here, not able to enjoy this in person.
Maybe for the
this
best,
is
Mac.
not fair.
It's too bad that I get just enough Ryan
this
in my
is not
life of
fair.
Mac, you are alone in a hotel room.
You can do whatever you want.
You're the only one who can enjoy this with complete freedom.
But as I was saying, like,
Thank you, Jake. Thank you for reminding me of my freedoms.
It's as you sit in your underwear, probably. Anyways, however you want to do your podcasting.
Are you watching me, Fleric? Are you
Oh.
liking what you see?
Turn
Oh,
off your webcam, dude.
Yeah, it's been awkward this entire time. But no, I definitely get just enough Ryan in this regular podcast, so I sadly will never hear that punishment, which makes me truly sad.
I am doing the punishment right now for all the world to listen.
Oh, it's already done?
Yeah, I have it done, prepared, and I'm about to read it. I do want to give a disclaimer that I've kind of stolen from one of my favorite sports afternoon shows. They do a segment every Friday called Unnecessary Censorship. Well, they'll censor words to make statements sound a lot worse than they actually are. So I'm going to use their disclaimer of there's nothing wrong with what I've written. If you interpret anything dirty from this, it's completely in your head. That's on you, not on me.
Is this like the Sesame Street count video where they censor it every time he says count and it sounds real dirty?
Let's just find out.
The Sesame who really likes to count, but when they censor, yeah, it's a good time.
So let us begin. Sumo Erotica, massive meat sale.
Oh, dear.
Kageyaki stood outside and baked in the summer heat. He had long since disrobed to just his mawashi to try to get some semblance of relief from the hot August sun. But it was all worth it, because the one he had been suffering in the heat for finally showed up. Enho. Looking radiant in his vibrant orange yukata, how did that little pixie always manage to make any outfit look good, garish colors and all, Kageyaki wondered to himself. It was a quality of Enho that Kageyaki simultaneously was jealous of and enraptured by. Enho sauntered into the grounds where Kageyaki's Takadagawa stable were holding their annual massive meat sale, the barbecue that the Takadagawa stable holds yearly to raise funds for the Heya. Enho was flanked, as always, by fellow stablemates Ishiura and Hakuho, but on this day, Kageyaki only had eyes for Enho.
He was flanked by Hakuho. Even he is enraptured by Enho.
Kageyaki immediately made a beeline straight for Enho and caught up to the diminutive Rikshi in a matter of moments. Kageyaki had been thinking about this interaction for so long that he had grown nervous and was unable to make a sound when he reached Enho. Awkwardly they stood, eyes darting from side to side, sweat dripping down their faces, hands clenching and unclenching uncontrollably. This moment lasted for what seemed an eternity to Kageyaki, until he noticed the displeased look in Hakuho's eye. Finally, Kageyaki was able to say what he had been yearning to say since he woke up that morning. Hi, Enho. How can I get my massive meat into your mouth? Enho's eyes went large. Hakuho and Ishiura departed, no longer able to stand the tension. But Enho remained.
We're out here, guys. This is weird.
He stared at Kageyaki with wonderment and finally responded, I've been waiting for your massive meat all day. Kageyaki let out a huge sigh of relief, for his dreams could finally come true. Please, let me show you all the different ways you can receive my massive meat. First, Kageyaki led Enho to the meat tenderizing tent, manned by fellow Takadagawa stablemate Ryuden. Welcome to the meat tenderizer. Sit back off, Ryuden. I got this. Kageyaki inserted. As Ryuden sheepishly left the tent, Kageyaki began to show Enho how to beat his meat. Moments later, they emerged from the tent, both much more sweaty than when they had entered. Wow, I didn't know there was more than one way to beat my meat, but that sure was tiring, Enho said. Well, if you ever need any help, just know that I will always be happy to beat your meat. Next, Kageyaki took Enho to what is
it continues.
to what is always the most popular tent among the rikishi, the sausage tent. The tent was packed as they squeezed their way inside, but the sausage tent lived up to its reputation as every man in here had a wiener in hand. It's a veritable sausage party in here, Enho exclaimed with excitement. Kageyaki led Enho to the famous Takadagawa Wiener Buffet. They both grabbed their plates and reached out for food, but alas, most of the food was already gone. When they emerged from the line, Kageyaki only came out with a bun, and Enho only a wiener. They sat down at the nearest table, both a little dejected, until Enho, a little shyly at first, began to slip his wiener slowly. Enho began to slip his wiener slowly into Kageyaki's bun.
You said it's on us if we think bad stuff.
Oh my god!
Enho,
It's a meat sale. They're selling meat flair. Get your head out of the gutter.
My bad. What happened next?
Kageyaki was a little surprised at the audacity of Enho, but gave him an approving nod. Enho inserted the rest of his wiener into Kageyaki's bun. Kageyaki said, "Go ahead and have it. My bun is all yours." Enho gave Kageyaki no time to reconsider. Enho gave Kageyaki no time to reconsider as he quickly slurped down his wiener.
Oh my!
The rest of the day passed, and Kageyaki said his goodbyes to Enho. He knew that they shared a special moment in that meat tenderizing tent, and Kageyaki would think about that moment whenever he beat his meat. Finn.
God damn it.
Yeah. I heard
my
nothing.
God!
I heard nothing that doesn't normally happen in a giant meat sale.
What you heard was completely clean. If you heard anything that made you upset at us, that is on you, not on us. And I say us, not specifically me who wrote that, laughing to myself at home.
Good God.
So the inspiration for that came when I was listening to a commercial on my drive to work. I have no idea what the commercial was for, but they said massive meat sale. And I'm like, there it is.
I found it.
There's the inspiration.
It has struck. Good God.
My cheeks hurt. I laughed so hard.
I honestly, like, despite all of the wiener slipping and things like that, I think my favorite part was when you said Kageyaki inserted.
Yeah.
Enho, timidly at first.
I love.
Shyly at first began to slip his wiener inside of Kageyaki's bun.
Yeah, it reminded me of Harry Potter, where I think it was in book 5, like J.K. Rowling.
Ow!
No. Like, I think she learned, like,
Bear with us.
Yeah, like after Ron like said everything, it was like he said instead of using like said or like just like rebuted or something, he said ejaculate. She's like ejaculated. So like says like how is that happening? Ron ejaculated loudly.
All right, I'm going to take some notes for my next sumo erotica.
Yes, I was about to say the next erotica.
That made me giggle too. That was fantastic.
Oh, and I think this leaves Mac as the only one who hasn't written softcore sumo porn.
I have done no such thing.
Excuse me. Festival retellings.
Yeah. Does this even count as the punishment for sumo erotica?
You're right. I really skirted my way around this
It
one.
wasn't dirty enough. You're right. Can we move on, please?
I don't think there's any graceful way to transition away from this, so we're just going to go right ahead and say that we received a follow-up voicemail. A few months ago, we had received a voicemail. We didn't play it on the podcast because it was exclusively in Japanese, but the gist that I had gotten from listening to it was that we were pronouncing Kimarite incorrectly, and I'm still probably saying
I think you did it
Kimarite
again.
incorrectly. But luckily, that fan listened and sent us another voicemail, which included an English explanation for exactly what I thought the voicemail was about, that we are pronouncing that word incorrectly. So we will let you listen to that now.
Mokarimaka. これは Biff Trevor です. And I'll do this one in Ego de show, since last time I did it in Nihongo and you guys were wakarimasen yaro. Anyways, Mokarimaka is Osaka, Kyoto slang for how you doing. It literally means, are you making money? And the answer is, bochi bochi de na, means I'm making money. So, let's get to some ear bleeding stuff. You guys really need to listen to some sumo in Japanese, because I just listened to the Goedo show. Great show. I think he's going to win the Basho this tourney in March. I'm all in for Goedo, because I think this is the best chance he's had of winning the Basho. But I don't know who it was, but it's not Kimarite. If you listen to the sumo online, you hear the judge, the Yoji, he says, Kimarite wa oshidashi desu. Kimarite wa oshidashi desu. It's not Kimarite, it's Kimarite. Anyways, love the podcast. Asanoyama on an Ozeki run this Basho, but I think Goedo's going to take it with a perfect Yusho. Jane, mata ne, bye-bye.
Thank you for that feedback, Biff, and you stay away from Lorraine McFly.
She's a saint.
Butthead. I'm sure he's never heard either of those jokes before.
Yeah.
Ever. Yeah.
That's a Back to the Future reference, right?
Attaboy.
Sure is, because the guy who left this punishment is a Twitter follower of ours named Biff. He left us 3 or 4 other voicemails, but they are fairly short in length and just more reactions to what he was seeing.
And Biff, we do appreciate that you were thinking of us when you got a Bonsuke for this Basho with a couple weird things on the Bonsuke.
Never fear. I only paid about $8 for that, and that includes shipping to America, so we're good, buddy. But yeah, Biff, feel free to send us any more voicemails correcting our pronunciation.
That goes for everybody.
Yes.
We say a lot of junk wrong.
Yeah.
Please let us know.
Yeah, let us know.
we will
Keep
try.
us
That's why we
accountable.
put the disclaimer in there. Questions, comments, or corrections.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we...
I'm not gonna lie, I'm probably still gonna get stuff wrong, but I'll give it a good shot.
But we will
Exactly.
decrease those things slowly, baby steps, fewer and fewer things totally wrong.
Yes. So, Mac, what are you most excited for coming up to the Takadagawa Massive Meat Sale? Sorry, for the Haru Basho.
Honestly, I am most excited to see how Tokushoryu does. I know he doesn't have much faith in himself. Obviously, I don't have that much faith in him either, but I just want to see if he can pull out more than a handful of wins. Just continue fighting on, sir.
How about you, Flerick?
Yeah, I definitely kind of want to watch Tokushoryu just kind of like coast like up in the joy, just kind of losing every match, but still having a blast with a huge smile on his face. But I think the big thing is just seeing how the whole like no audience Basho kind of goes, and whether or not Hakuho is just going to get all of his Tsukebito to just go ahead and just cheer for him like anytime he has a match, just kind of get him hyped up. I'm curious to see how that plays out.
As usual, I'm going to let kind of the episode dictate what I'm most excited for. So Takayasu's Yusho run for this Basho is what I'm most excited for, as he guides me towards victory in the prediction series. Also, obviously, Asanoyama, want to see how he does. But now that I've got some skin in the game for Takayasu, really want to see him do good.
I
Do well.
obviously would also love to see Takayasu do well. I have less faith in it, though.
Superman does good. Takayasu does well.
There you go. Except for in sumo tournaments recently.
Fair enough.
But I think what I am most excited for is we have had, as the upper generation with Goedo gone, with Tochinoshin and, yes, Takayasu kind of faltering here, both Yokozuna looking shaky. I think I'm excited for whoever the heck it is that's going to bust out like 12 or 13 wins that we have absolutely no idea for. So I mean, there's some young guys that could totally take this basho, like Asano Oyama, Shodai, Hokuto Fuji, Takakeisho up towards the top. But there's obviously going to be at least a couple guys that get at 10, 11, 12 wins that we have no idea and didn't cover whatsoever. And I think this basho has given me the feeling that we're going to have something exciting happen in that kind of regard. Like Nishikigi. I don't know. Nishikigi is going to get 14 wins.
Okay, at least make it believable.
Yeah. Tokushoryu got 14 wins last time.
Jake, no.
Come on.
No,
literally anything is possible.
Yeah, Daisho is still in the joy. And he
except for Daisho, I do not.
We
have
know
faith
he's
in
going to do. Wait. Is it a joke that he's going to do well or do bad? I forget.
Daisho, we have banned him from mentions on this podcast until he does well because we made him the mascot of the Hatsu Basho.
And then he blew it.
And then he blew it. So we will bleep out anytime Flerick said his name.
Yep.
He who shall not be named.
Daisho. I'm just making more editing work for Jake. Daisho.
Jake
I'm
is
just
not
not gonna-
actually going to bleep it out.
I don't care.
So we're going to have a little bit of a different plan for our typical midway episode.
Heck yeah, we are.
Mac and Jake. Mac, where are you going to be when we would usually record our midway episode?
For this one, I'm actually going to be back home in my hometown, Council Bluffs, Iowa.
And Jake, where will you be during the midway episode?
You can't make me feel bad. I'm going to go visit my brother because he's a teacher and it's his spring break. So this is the week that we get to hang out.
How dare you put family over podcast?
I'll do it again. Yeah, this won't be the last time.
So it's just going to be Flerick and I for the midway episode. And you know what? We're probably going to need a little bit of help. So our plan is we're going to try something a little bit new with that episode. We're going to try to get some feedback from the listeners live during the episode. We don't know the complete details yet. We'll send it out on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, however you get updates from us. But we're going to try to do something like Facebook Live, where we'll have a set time where we're going to discuss the midway episode, and anybody can listen along with us and send us questions they want us to answer, comments about the tournament. And so we're going to try something like that. We'll also probably ask for some questions just to start us off in that episode, but it's going to be a little different feel for the midway episode this time.
Yeah, I think we're going to take this time to kind of just try to be more just, I guess, kind of get an idea of what everyone else and to kind of take some questions about that. Just kind of see how they're feeling about the basho. And like I said, we might do a live stream kind of aspect so you can kind of watch live and do questions as we kind of answer some stuff. And just let us know how it's going to go.
Yeah, and if that works out fairly well, maybe we'll try it out for like a preview or recap sometime. No promises. This is just an experiment we're doing. We hope it turns out well and that people show up to support that. But that is everything that we have for the Haru Basho, which is going to be starting on Sunday, March 8th. So if you enjoyed this podcast, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast listening service, which now includes Spotify.
Ooh.
Well, I never.
There's going to be one listener who's going to love that reference.
Probably that's it.
I'm talking to you, Max Flaker. It's going to be great. So we also have social media. We have Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, a Grand Sumo Breakdown.
Our blog is grandsumobreakdown.wordpress.com. And then there's the delay for Mac.
Corrections, drop us a line at grandsumobreakdown@gmail.com or give us a call at 805-613-7866. That's 805-613-SUMO.
So once again, if anybody's in the Minneapolis area this Saturday night, feel free to stop on down to the Moto-E Sake and Ramen Bar and visit with us and talk about sumo. But until then, Flerick and I, at the very least, will see you at the midway episode.
Yeah, we will see you.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown.
Until next time.
Throw your salt high.
And keep moving forward.